Okay, good evening, everybody. I guess I'm doing this part.
Okay.
All right. You go ahead. You do the introduction.
All right. So welcome, everybody. This is it's iBugs Live, and it's February 23rd, 2023. We are going to be talking about pasta and possibilities. But before that, just a few quick announcements. Upcoming events for iBug. Visit our website at ibugtoday.org. is the best place to get all the information. As far as this weekend, tomorrow we are watching Respect. It's a biopic of Aretha Franklin. It's our iBug Night at the Virtual Movies at 8 p.m., 7:30 for social time. Then on Saturday, it's Apple Workshop from 2 to 4, talking about some very cool apps, new apps that are up and coming that people are interested in. And then we'll have some Apple news. So that'll be on Saturday. And then back on Monday, we'll have our iBug Buzz regular training on the iPhone. So with that, we will go around real quick. And so we can know who's here. We'll say who you are and where you're from. And I'll start off. This is Sandhya in Houston.
This is Pete in Jacksonville.
Welcome.
This is Jennifer in Tennessee.
All right, welcome.
This is Debbie from Albany, Georgia.
Okay, Bridget in Georgia, and who else? Mrs. That
Debbie.
Debbie, welcome. Hi there. Okay.
Thank you.
Vincent in New Jersey.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's Jennifer from New York.
Welcome, Jennifer.
Julia from Ontario.
Welcome.
Hi, this is Shay from Everett, Washington.
Welcome. Who else you got?
Elisa and Porter.
Welcome. All right. Anybody else? We're just going around and introducing ourselves, who we are, where we're from. Anybody else? Okay. Well, all right. Well, then with that, I heard some new voices. I'm so glad that you're here. And if you are new and have never been to one of our meetings, I'd encourage you to go to our website and register. All of our services are free. And that way you will get a listing of all the upcoming events and email notifications of particular events. So with that, I will hand it over to our host for the night, George Batiste. George. Hello, George.
Well, if I would unmute, then you guys probably could hear me. So
yeah, there you go.
Like talking to a wall. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of It's iBugs Life, where we will normally every fourth Thursday at this time at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 Eastern, or you do the math as whatever time zone you're calling from. We discuss how to either fix things or repair things from a totally blind perspective. We've done so many things, such as lighting furnaces, such as doing some traveling, or just various topics. I'm not going to go read down the whole thing because we've been doing this for several months now, and I don't have the whole list in front of me, nor do I have it memorized. But today, like Sandhya had talked about, the title of this is called Pasta and Possibilities. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a live presentation of how to make spaghetti and meat sauce or meatballs, whatever your choice is. We're going to do it the traditional way, which is going to take a little bit longer. And then we're going to do it the Jetsons way. Well, not quite the Jetsons, but a more efficient way if you don't want something to take a little time. We have somebody going to do a presentation on how to prepare such a dish as this in an Instant Pot, which is going to probably take a little bit shorter time than what I'm going to do. And this is actually going to be a live presentation. I'm doing everything live. I'm going to talk about my ingredients, exactly what I'm doing. so that for any of you who probably do not do any cooking at all, hopefully by the time this meeting is over with, you will have an idea, and perhaps one day you will decide to be adventurous and try to either make something like this or something in the kitchen, whatever your confidence level is at. So what I'd like to hear, just for, and I'm gonna do this for like about 20 seconds, guys, come off mute. I want to know anyone in the room does not regularly do any cooking at all. Just say aye. You don't have to say your name. Just say aye.
Aye.
One. Anybody else?
Does
That's two.
oatmeal count?
Idea, really, girl?
Boiling water.
I
That
could
was
be a
good.
nice guy and say oatmeal. Sort of depends on if you're making it instant or you're making it. I don't know.
All right, thank you. I guess it's an I then. All right.
And then some of us probably do some light cooking, but we probably rely on other folks in our household to probably do most of it. Like I do know somebody who he's not here yet, but I know he regularly attends, who usually rely on his wife to do most of the cooking because he's afraid of destroying the house. But I'm not going to even mention any names. Now, if he shows up, I will mention his or her name. Anyway, although I may have already revealed the gender since I said wife. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I don't want time to fly by on me. I'm gonna set my phone down so hopefully you guys can still hear me as I move around here. Am I still projecting pretty good? Okay, here in silence, I guess I am.
Yeah, you sound good. Keep going.
Okay. And for those of you who are new, what we do is if you happen to have a question along the way, just feel free to come off mic, say your name, and you will be acknowledged. And that way you get to pose your question or make your comment. So when I mentioned earlier about it could be meat sauce or meatballs, because I'm going to be using ground meat, or some people may call it hamburger meat. And if you're going to make meatballs is a lot simpler process to get it done because all you do is you take the meat out of the pack, whatever's in the little round tube-like pack, or the flat pack where the meat is all grounded up, and you can put it in a bowl. And after you have applied all of your seasonings, which I would identify what I'm going to use here today, later, after you've gotten your meat well seasoned, then you just get out a baking sheet or a cookie sheet, make your balls out of the meat, make balls out of the meat, that's already been prepared, out however size you want them to be. If you want to be real big ones, then you can make it that way. If you want to be kind of like little small ones, like some people may call them Swedish meatballs, or the kind of meatballs you may find at a party for like finger food, we can make them that way. And all you do is you put them on a cookie sheet, kind of like you would do cookies if you were making cookies where you got like the rolled up dough. Put them about, I will say maybe if you put two fingers together, that's the kind of space you want in between each meatball as you're placing them on the pan. And when you've gotten your pan pretty much filled up, have your oven, I would say preheat your oven to 350. If you have an old manual knob, you would turn it straight up and down or do a 180 to where what was at the top is now at the bottom. And that should get your oven to 350. If you have one of those digital stoves, well, when you press the bake, either it's going to automatically default to 350, means all you got to do is press start and it will start heating up to 350. Or if you have one of those ovens that it does not default to 350, then when you turn it on, it's going to go back to the temperature that the last person had used it at. Then you have to find your plus and minus buttons on your stove and go up or down 5-degree intervals to reach the 350. Meaning if your oven was at 375, and most ovens, when you use those 5-degree intervals, the minus, you go down, you can count probably 5 times to get to 350, or if you was at 325, you would count up using the plus to get to 350. And you can let that sizzle for probably like about 15 minutes because you will hear it. You hear it sizzling in the oven. Don't worry, it won't make a mess. It won't splash. It's not like you frying a piece of chicken where you got to be careful if the grease is going to pop on you. This is actually will be a well confined type of sizzle. It'll only stay on the pan. And once it has stopped, then that's when you can probably say that your meatballs are done. Now, that's an easy way. That's what I say. Meatballs are a lot easier than meat sauce, which I'm actually going to do the meat sauce, which is a little process. So what I've done, as I've been talking this whole
George?
time. Yes,
This is Pete. Sorry with a question.
that's okay. Go ahead, Pete.
You said put them on a cookie sheet. Do you need to prepare the cookie sheet with any kind of oil or maybe wax paper or anything like that?
Not at all.
Okay,
If,
just straight on the
just
sheet.
put it on the cookie sheet because it's not going to stick. It's not going to stick because the meatballs are going to kind of like make its own like little oil or grease.
Right.
So it'll be easy to lip up off of the sheet. It's not like
Okay.
you're baking cookies where you probably will need to grease the pan. It's a good question.
Thank you.
No problem. What I have been, any other questions before I go further from anybody else? Okay. What I was doing the whole time that I was talking and explaining about the meatballs, I was actually taking the ground meat out of the pack. I have a 1 pound pack that's pretty much is just me. I don't need to make a whole lot. So I have a 1 pound pack of ground meat that you can find in pretty much any store. They either come in like the little tube or it come in like a little flat pack. I got the little tube shape kind. And I squeeze it all out into a bowl, kind of like a bowl that I'm going to use like a mixing bowl. The bowl is probably about the size of like a large salad bowl. And right now what I'm doing is I'm taking up all of my spices that I'm going to use in the meat. I am going to use some garlic powder. I'm going to use some seasonal. Oh, I don't want to use this. This is lemon pepper. Don't want that. And ordinarily, I probably would have had this out already, but I wanted to be very authentic and show you guys exactly what I'm doing as I'm explaining in detail as to what all you would need to have out as you're going to prepare this. So I'm taking out, again, garlic powder, take out some seasonal, which is like a sort of like an all-purpose season, a mix of everything. I'm not going to use any pepper. I may use pepper when I make the sauce, but right now I'm not going to use pepper at this moment. I'm just basically want to season the meat. And I have if any guys who have joined these meetings before, I talked about one time when I was cooking, I think a roast, and one time when I cook a turkey, I have a chopped up greenery already prepared whenever I'm making a dish. And in this dish will be mixture of chopped white onions, garlic, celery, and green onion. That's my kind of like my magic mix. Where I put a little bit of everything. I put it, and as you can see, my ground meat that I'm going to make, I may use it in my red beans and rice. I may use it whatever I'm baking. It just works well for me. That's how I like to prepare myself. Now, this is not saying that you have to do this. Whatever your taste bud, whatever your palate can tolerate, what you like, your household, whatever, that's what you use. But this is what I'm going to use. So right now I'm taking out pinches. I have this thing that I have already chopped up. I have a food chopper, kind of like a very small food processor that I can break up the green onion, break up the celery, break up the onions and the garlic and put it in there and turn it on in like about 7 or 8 seconds. It grinds it up real fine. Before I had something like this, I used to take a knife and just be chop, 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 chop on the cutting board, which sometimes is a long process. But with that food chopper, it doesn't, it kind of cuts down that time. Like I said, that takes like about 7 or 8 seconds. When I have to do all that chopping, sometimes that can take 30 minutes because I want to chop it up real fine. I want to also find that whatever it is that I am preparing, you're not going to be crunching on somebody's green. It's going to be real fine. It's going to cook in. All you will have is just the flavor. So right now I'm getting my hands a mess full of this because I'm taking pinches, sticking it in the middle of the meat, and make sure you get it all mixed in here. One thing I do a lot too when I'm preparing a dish, I wash my hands a lot. So you may hear me running water from time to time. And that's because I'm going to be touching different things. I'm going to be touching the containers that my spices are in. And I don't want this grease that I'm messing with this ground meat to get all over the outside of the container. So I am constantly washing my hands. I'm stepping into my dining room for a second if you guys can hear me because I'm grabbing some paper towels. Okay. So now what I'm about to do now is apply my spices, my garlic powder, as well as the seasonal. And I'm just gonna shake it. I'm using my right hand to shake the spice out of container over the meat. I'm making sure it's all over. And I'm using my left hand, because I remember before, I don't have any vision at all, to kind of tell, I'm making sure I'm getting it all over the meat, all over the outside of it. So when I feel it's got it well covered, I'm gonna do the same thing with the seasonal. Get me unscrewing the top. And Sonia, let me know when it's 6:45. Give me a time check of 6:45. I'm shaking this all over the meat just like I did the garlic powder. I keep saying onion powder because sometimes I put onion powder and stuff I'm cooking too, but I'm not going to put onion powder in this. To me, onion powder would not work too well as far as flavor, at least to my taste bud. But if you're somebody who likes onion powder, by all means do that. And plus, I got some chopped up onion in this, so I don't want to have it too oniony, if that's the word.
This is Sonia.
Hey, Sonia.
Okay, did you say 6:45?
6:45.
Okay, and then the other question I had about technique wise, do you sometimes like pour it into your hand first so you know how much you're getting? And
Good question. That is what I teach. Yeah, and the reason why I teach it, because for those of you who don't know, I'm a vocational rehabilitation teacher with the state of Texas, where I do teach some everyday daily living skills. And sometimes I teach people who don't have any, probably, as a confidence builder, we show them how to prepare meals and we show them safe ways of actually applying spices or even doing cutting. Now, what I teach, because Sonia brought up the point, because I actually think I even probably taught her way back in the day, that for control, so that you don't get spices everywhere, you will take the container and like pour it in the palm of your hand and then sprinkle it over the meat or whatever you're preparing. Or if you're going to just make like a little sauce or whatever, if you're going to be using a lot of different spices, you can pour it into a plate and sprinkle it. That way you don't know you won't accidentally sprinkle too much. But the more you do it, the more you will come to one, you know exactly how to hold the container, how to tilt it, how to shake it to where a whole lot would not come out. And this is what I did because I've been cooking since I was probably a sophomore in college when I decided to get off of the meal plan, because I wanted to save some money. And then also I wanted to teach myself how to cook as well. But if I was teaching anybody for the very first time, that's the technique that I would use. I would tell you to shake the spice into your hand, so that way you would know how much is in there, and then you will kind of like turn your hand the other way over whatever you're applying season to, or put it in the plate so that you have that control. I probably wouldn't teach the first time like what I just did, what I like I just demonstrated by just putting it right on top of the meat. Does that make sense to anybody? Or am I confusing anybody so far? I just want to make sure I'm keeping it very elementary so that when you walk over here, you totally understand and you totally get it. Okay. Hearing none, now what I'm going to do is I am going to put very little black pepper, not for spices, just for flavor. Black pepper actually has a flavor. I know some people hear the word pepper, you think hot, gonna burn me up. No, this is just for a little flavor. The pepper, if you want to get something to make it real spicy, then that's where you probably put a whole lot of pepper, which is not good because then that's going to be too much black pepper flavor. Or if you want something to have a little spice, you may put something like cayenne pepper, which is definitely hotter than regular black pepper. And then, of course, there's some other kind of peppers, jalapenos, stuff like that. Now, I've never put, some people may have put jalapenos in their meat sauce. I've never done that, never tried it. I can't imagine what it would taste like. Well, I probably could imagine, but I don't think it would go very well. I don't think. Now, somebody may like that. So again, I'm not, this is just stuff that I'm using. The other thing that I'm going to use is, I thought I had already taken it out, but I didn't. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's breadcrumbs. Now, this is a tip that my mother told me. She says when you put breadcrumbs in it, it helps to make the meat come out easier to eat or tender or not be as tough or difficult to dissolve. So breadcrumbs is just for like texture purposes. And breadcrumbs is something that you can buy in any store around spices. Don't get the seasoned breadcrumbs because, unless you're making something that you want the breadcrumbs to be seasoned, like if you was doing some sort of Italian pork chops or something like that, where that type of seasoning may call for that. But this is just meat sauce. And since I'm adding most of my own spices to everything, I just got regular breadcrumbs. And I'm sprinkling it all over the meat. I'm flipping the meat over and over with my left hand as I'm shaking with my right. And once I think I've gotten enough all over, what I'm going to do next is sitting that down, put the lid over it. I'm going to just kind of like mash my fingers all within this meat to make sure the breadcrumbs are going through and through, not just on the outside. I want it to be on the inside too, so that it is well mixed, well seasoned, along with the spices that I put in here, along with the greenery that I have chopped in here. Just to make sure it is well, I don't know if the next word is, I'm about to say proportion, but that's not the right word. That is all of this meat, everything's gonna be seasoned. So with every bite you take, when it's put up, I will get all that flavor. And I'm just taking, all of my fingers, and just mixing it all up by hand in the bowl that I had the meat in. Once I get done with this, I have a skillet. I have a flat skillet that I'm going to put the meat in. This is what we're going to call the process, what they call browning or ground. Is it browning? I guess it's browning the meat, which means I'm going to let it cook until it's no longer red. And I'm going to turn the skillet up on medium, the burner, not the skillet. I'm trying to burn up on medium. I have an electric stove. I already have the skillet on the stove on the burner that I'm going to use. So now that I have mixed this up for like about a minute or two, I'm going to now grab this, and it's all tight together. So when I pick it up, I can pick it up with one hand and it's all sticking together. It's not falling apart. And I'm going to walk over my stove and place it in a skillet. And when I got it in the skillet, I'm going to spread it all out all over the bottom of the skillet. I'm not just going to leave it in one lump like it's going to look like a small meatloaf. Spread it all over the skillet. And once I got it all over, I'm going to turn on my burner so it can start cooking and browning the meat. Anybody got any questions so far about anything? Anybody going to want me to send them a plate? Oh, I'm glad nobody answered that, because there's no way I could do that. You guys in all over areas of the country. You're in New York, you're in Canada, you're on the West Coast, you're in Porter. I'm washing my hands. Remember I told you guys before, I'm always washing my hands because I'm always touching stuff. Now what I'm going to do as well, turning my burner on the electric stove. I'm going to move the phone over to the stove area because I want you guys to pretty much hear the meat once it starts making the noise that is cooking. So I'm gonna walk over here. Now, when I do the meat sauce, once it starts frying and you're making the sizzling noise, I'm gonna take, you can use either a spatula, a single spatula, not a double spatula, or a large cooking spoon, something that's flat. Because to make the meat sauce, you have to kind of like chop it up and chop it up real fine so that when you go to add your ragu sauce or something to it, or when you go to serve it, it is a meat sauce, meaning it's ground up pieces of meat into the sauce. And when I get to the sauce, I'm going to use, they got so many different kinds of ragu sauce now. I mean, it has so many different ingredients. And I bought this particular ragu so long ago, I forgot which one it is. But I know usually when I do buy it, I want it to have at least some tomatoes in it. I want it to have garlic in it. I want it to have, they may call it like 7 herbs, something like that. They got it written on the bottle. But it'll be something that I like. And I'm going to use the whole bottle. This comes in a glass bottle, although they have some that come in plastic bottles too. But when I make my, once I finish grinding up all of the meat and chopping the meat all up, I will turn off my burner, and I will also, excuse me, drain the grease out of the meat by pouring the meat into a colander. Everybody know what a colander is, correct? Anybody does not know what a colander is? Okay, I think everybody knows what a colander is. The little thing, it's a strainer, it's got a little bunch of little tiny holes in it. I'm going to pour the meat into that, and I'm going to probably hold it over a small bowl or saucer so the grease can go into it and not just directly into the sink. Once I have drained all of that grease out, then I'm going to put back into the skillet or the pot that I'm going to use to make the sauce in. And then that's when I'll start adding my ragu, my tomato paste, but I'll get to that part when it comes to. Since I'm waiting for that meat to start sizzling, what I'm going to do now, so I can do multiple things at a time, I'm going to start boiling the spaghetti. The spaghetti, or those little long skinny things. I'm going to open this up. And I have a pot that's about, I think this is a 4-quart pot. I'm going to take the lid off. Rinse it off a little bit just to make sure it's good and clean, which it is already clean, but it's been sitting a while. So just to make sure I'm doing a little extra cleaning to it. There's nothing, it may have some dust, may have fallen, even though the lid was on it. I just always want to make sure I'm extra clean. This is what I do. I'm going to take, I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to fill this pot up with water. And pretty much halfway. Just enough that it's going to cover the spaghetti that they're going to put in there. And I'm going to add some salt at the bottom of the water. That's to keep the spaghetti from sticking to the bottom. That's what the salt is for. The salt is not just to make the spaghetti salty, it's so that it would not stick to the bottom of the pot. That's a good trick to use. Not a trick, but the tip to use if you're going to be boiling anything like grits, or I think Sonny, you mentioned oatmeal, or if you're cooking rice, something that could possibly, it would stick to the bottom of the pot. So that's what we do the salt for. So, and I'm going to let this boil for about maybe 10 or 15 minutes, or whenever I hear it boiling. Like I hear it boiling, but I'm going to let it boil probably about 5 or no, maybe about 10 minutes past that, because I want it to be good and boiled. And then that's when, you know what, I'm probably going to let it boil for 5 minutes. Then I'm going to add the spaghetti, and I'm going to break the noodles up into 4s. I break mine up into 4s because I'm one of those, I don't like doing that wrapping around the fork. I like to pick it up, got enough in the fork that I can stick it in my mouth and eat it. Now, there are some restaurants and some people who don't break them up. They like leaving it whole because some people think it's fun or it's something to do that you get to wrap the spaghetti noodles around your fork and before you start eating it. So I'm putting I just turned on the burner on medium for the water to boil. And so now I'm starting to hear my meat bubble up. So I'm going to, with my left hand, this is for orientation purposes, I got my hand on the handle and I'm using my big spoon. I got a big spoon, this is my spatula spoon, it has holes in it. And I'm actually gonna chop up the meat. I'm going all around and I'm actually even flipping it just to make sure it's cooked on all sides, all layers of it. And you make it hear it. You probably can hear it if the phone is picking up the audio good. You probably can hear the sound. That chopping one here, that's me chopping at the meat because I want it to be. This is how I make meat sauce. I want it to be real chopped up and fine. Alexa, what time is it? Oh, Sonny, I told you 6:45. I guess I meant 7:45. I just realized this, and I did that because we used to start these meetings at 6, but we now start them at 7 Central. So that's why it almost scared me. I thought my clock was wrong for a second. Anybody got any questions? Anybody got any comments? While I'm doing my chopping and listening and chopping.
Yes,
Who's that?
Bridget.
Hey, Bridget.
Hello. I just want to know, do you know now instead of breaking your noodles apart, they sell them like that?
I haven't seen it. Now I know you can probably buy what they call them. Is it elbow noodles where they're probably already they kind of like half circles. I know you can purchase that if you choose, but the long sticks like I got, I have not seen them where you can purchase them and they're already broken up.
Yeah, I had just seen it once, but I had never seen it either. It's kind of neat. Yes.
Hey, don't give somebody that did it. May start doing that. Or somebody
Okay.
needs an idea. They may start doing that. Already broken up.
Okay, thanks.
This is Vincent.
Hey, Vincent.
A couple of questions. So when you're preparing a meat sauce, that you will be putting that over the spaghetti and the like. Now, if you're going to have meatballs and spaghetti, then you wouldn't be adding meat to the sauce itself because you're having the meatballs, to eat jointly with the spaghetti, right?
That's correct. If I'm going to be making meatballs, I'm basically probably just going to be making the sauce. And hold on. One second. I'm saying hold on because I turned on one burner too many. I thought I was turning on my front burner, but I turned on the front. And something else was almost burning. But I caught it in time. So we're good. I have a good sense of it. But to answer your question, Vincent, yes, I would probably just take those meatballs. And after I made my sauce, meaning when I put the ragu and I put the tomato paste and all of that, I'm just going to drop the meat into the sauce. So the balls
Right.
will stay whole.
Now, when you're preparing the meat sauce, let's say if you're doing, let's say 1 container of the sauce, let's say ragu sauce or whatever sauce it may be, that would be about a quart that you would be using
A quart of
a ragu sauce to add to the.
yeah, it's a whole. I don't know what size the jar is. I've never asked when I buy it. I just know I get this one jar.
Yeah,
and
the
the way they
same
sell
here.
it, and I have never even asked about what size it is, or if it's a quart, if it's a half thing. but this probably is about a quart size. So yeah, I'm just gonna
Right,
use
yeah,
just that.
yeah. So now for that, how much meat are you using? Are you using half a pound or a pound of
I'm using
meat?
1 pound.
1
I'm
pound?
using 1.
Okay. Now, as far as adding, like for example, a garlic salt, would you be adding like a teaspoon, a spoon, and the seasonal oil? Would it be more like a spoonful?
I was given the equivalent. Yeah, if I was making a recipe, I would probably say maybe like probably a tablespoon. Probably a tablespoon
Oh,
of each of the seasonal,
okay.
of the garlic. I mean, the garlic powder. Yeah, that's what we're burning. It'd be that equivalent. Now, I was shaking it all over, but yeah, if I was going to use exact measurements, it'd probably be like a tablespoon.
Okay, and as far as salt is concerned, I don't eat much salt. I try to avoid it as much as possible. So I would only add would like just a teaspoon or less than that in the water for the spaghetti.
Right. I don't use table salt at all.
What kind of salt do you use?
I basically, since I'm using like 1 second. What's that? I can't remember.
George, you
Yeah.
take care of your fire if you got one.
Oh, the fire's out.
Good. First things first.
Yeah, the fire's out. It's almost like it was melting like the leg of my deep fryer. That's what I started smelling. That's what made me realize that I turned on the wrong burner. And you know what? I turned on the right burner, but since I was moving the pot up against it, it probably moved the burner. You got it? I got it. Okay. So there's no fire. If there's a fire, I would have put you guys on hold. And then plus, I do have a fire extinguisher here in my kitchen. And I've never had to use it. Maybe that might be another training, how to use a fire extinguisher.
Well, I'm here if you need to take care of anything, George.
Say it again?
I'm here if you need me to cover for you while you're taking out the fire.
Okay, no. The fire's gone. There's no fire. Only fire you got right now is me chopping at the meat.
Okay.
This is what you call live action, guys.
Yeah, live demo.
So no, Vincent, since the more I have cooked over the years, and I've been cooking for like 20, 30, whatever it is, I pretty much have gotten away from using table salt when I'm applying seasoning to stuff. I may use table salt. These days I may only use table salt on a boiled egg. That's about it. But I'm using seasoned oil, which has a mixture of a lot of different stuff. And I may use onion powder, garlic powder, depends on what I'm preparing.
Right, but I was talking about the water that boiling the water for the spaghetti.
Yeah, now for the spaghetti, I filled the pot kind of like halfway, maybe a little bit half. It hasn't started boiling yet, but it will be boiling here soon. That's when I hear it boiling. That's when I'm going to break up the spaghetti. Oh, okay. I see why you mentioned salt. Because I did mention that I put salt in the bottom of the pot, and that's just only purpose for it is to keep the noodles from sticking to the bottom of the pot. I don't put enough that actually is going to make the water salty, but it is going to be enough at the bottom that when I'm ready to take the noodles out and strain them and add them to the sauce, they will not be stuck to the pot. I may have maybe 1 or 2 noodles that just seem to be stubborn to get stuck, but for the most part, none of them will. And my mother told me that's the trick with that, is to put salt in your water. So I'm still chopping with my right hand, and I'm also lightly with my fingertips checking the meat lightly. I'm not sticking it all the way in the pot, but just so I can feel the texture. And I can also tell the texture just by how it feels up against the spatula that I'm using to chop with as well. And I'm just making sure that I don't feel no lumps, no big chunks of meat. I want it to be real fine. That's the purpose of doing the chopping. If you guys have been in like a food court of a shopping mall, you may have heard of a place called Great Steak, or where they have like those Philly sandwiches where they're chopping up steak meat. I think this is the process that they do. So they want to chop that real fine. So you may hear that kind of sound, but on a different probably type of skillet and probably a different spatula than what I'm using. What they're using, I don't know because I never worked at one of those places, but I'm just using my imagination.
This is Sonia.
This idea?
It's 7:43.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I think I told you. I told you 6 something, and I forgot
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I was still
I
on the
figured
time.
what I figured. Yeah.
You knew what I meant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think my meat is pretty good and chopped up, guys. So you may not hear this noise too much anymore. Vincent, what city are you from?
He's from New Jersey, George.
Jersey. Okay.
A good Jersey boy.
Hey, I've been to Atlantic City once.
I was born and raised in Jersey.
I had a history
This is-
teacher when I was in 7th grade who was from Southbound Brook, New Jersey.
This is Terry.
Hey, Terry.
I just wanted to, first of all, I apologize for being late, but I just wanted to let you know that your Bluetooth headphones are doing a good job or a bad job, depending upon how you want to look at it, of compressing the sound. So we're not hearing the chopping sounds, or at least I'm not anyway. I maybe I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I'm not hearing the sounds of the chopping and whatever you're doing there.
Does anybody like Terry? Does no one hear me chopping at all?
No.
Wow. Trust me, I am chopping.
Yeah,
I hear that? You hear that
it's
though, right?
because your headphones are compressing.
But actually,
the
Terry,
sound.
I'm not using headphones at all. Yeah, I'm actually just using the speaker.
Oh, okay.
Somebody else called for the floor. I thought I heard a name. Well, even though you guys don't hear my chopping, I didn't realize that my speaker didn't pick up the chopping. And, that could be a Zoom compressing type thing too, because it tends to wants to cut out a lot of your background noise, even though we want the background noise heard.
This is Terry. That's exactly what it is. Now that you mentioned it, because we are on Zoom, that is exactly what it is.
George, for future reference, this is Pete. You can put it on original sound
Right.
in your audio settings, and that takes the compression and the processing off.
Okay.
All right, let's get back to cooking.
Yep.
Sonia.
In
It's
the
gonna become a
audio.
buzz call. I know. Okay, keep going, George.
Okay, now what I'm about to do is I've turned the burner off on the meat, and I'm going to get a small bowl. I'm going to get my colander as soon as I can figure out where I put the thing in. Here it is. Got it. That's another trick too. Orientate yourself to your kitchen and you know where everything is at. Where you put things at, so that way you have to do a lot of searching. Although it doesn't bother as much, because even when I'm wrapping presents, I tend to misplace the tape, misplace the scissors a lot. And so this is kind of like similar to that type of process. So you may have heard me running water is because I was washing out the calendar just in case maybe some dust may have waste on it. I got on it. And right now I'm walking over to it and I'm just going to dump this meat into this colander. And this is how I'm gonna drain the grease. The ground meat does make a lot of grease. If anybody ever fried a hamburger from the way, like you make a homemade hamburger, it makes a lot of grease. And I'm scraping, I'm using my spatula to make sure I'm getting all of the meat out into the colander. May not get it, may or may not get it, but that takes time along with that process.
This is Terry with a question.
Go ahead, Terry.
So you have the colander in your sink, is that right? Or do you have it over something that you're draining the grease into so that it doesn't go down your sink drain?
I do two things. Sometimes I do put it in a sink, an empty sink, but this time I have it on my counter over a bowl.
Okay,
And so the grease is going to the bottom into this bowl. Oh, man, I did a good job chopping this up. I did us the chopping. Okay. I'm gonna let this alone for a second because I can hear boiling now. I know you guys don't hear it, but I do hear it. I'm gonna set this down right here. When I'm saying this, I'm talking about my colander for the ground meat. I'm going to open up my spaghetti noodles. And since my hands are a little slippery, I'm gonna cut this open with a knife. But you know what? Hold on. Let me get a piece of the towel. Let me know when it's 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock on you. Okay.
Okay, got 11 minutes.
Talking to myself as I'm trying to locate my knife so I can cut this pack open. And my water is boiling. No, you can find it knife, but I do have putty knife.
this is Terry.
Hey, Terry.
When you were talking about having everything in place, so that you kind of have everything where you want it, so you know what's where. There, do you know the fancy name for that? It's a French name.
Tell it to me.
It's called mise en place, which in English literally means mess in place.
There you go. Or a chaotic mess. Organized chaos. How about that?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I got my spaghettis open. So what I'm doing right now, I got using both hands because I grabbed like a bunch. I don't know how many, kind of like maybe third of the pack, half a pack, and I'm going to break it. You probably won't hear the break, but I broke it once, and I'm breaking it over the water. So if any of them snap, they fall into the water. And then I'm going to break it again. So I'm going to break it into 4 times. So that was 2 on one half. And I'll take the other half and I'm breaking it. And some of them tend to run away, but no harm done. If I find it, I just pick it up. And then when it run away on the stove, and I just throw it in the water. And I think I'm going to get another handful out of the pack. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use 2 hands, break it in half. Kind of like what Harry Potter did with the Elder Wand. And I'm going to break this part in half. So I break it in, I guess you could say, in force. So that way I don't have to worry about doing the wraparound fork thing procedure that some people like, some restaurants like. And I'm going to let this boil probably for about 10 minutes. Alexa, set timer for 10 minutes. 10, or I use, sometimes I even go 15. You know, I've never made a science of it, but I go 10, 15. So now I got that boiling. And now I'm going to go through the process of actually making the actual sauce. Now, what I'm going to do, I have a different pot. I'm not going to use the same pot that I use to ground the meat. I have another pot, I guess you can call it my sauce pot, that I'm going to put the meat in it, and I'm going to put I bought tomato paste. And the only reason, if anybody don't know why am I using tomato paste, is because when I first learned how to cook spaghetti, which is probably one of the first, I would say one of the first major dishes that I learned to cook, was this is something my mother taught me to do. And I never did ask her, well, why we do this? I just did it because she said that's what she does. So it's not one thing I was that curious. I just wanted the thing to get done. I wanted it done right. I want it to taste as good as she used to make it. And so that's why I would take in, after I've added my meat that I've already drained all the grease out of, I'm going to turn back on the burner on medium. And I'm going to open up my tomato paste can. And I use Hunt's tomato paste. That's a brand name that she's always used, so I'm going to use it as well. And when I open the tomato paste, I get it like a small teaspoon, because this is a small can. And I'm gonna, the tomato paste is kind of thick. So I'm gonna use a teaspoon to make sure it gets all scooped out of the can. And I'm gonna pour it over the meat. And then I'm gonna take that can and fill it up 3 times with water. That's also helped loosen up the paste a little bit. And when I have done that 3 times, stir it up, then I will add the ragu sauce. And then if I need to add like maybe some black pepper or some other seasoning, if I don't find that my sauce is seasoned up to my liking, then I may add a little bit more. But I would use like probably a teaspoon on the side, and as I used to stir it up with, and then put it in a plate and test it. I'm not going to test it over the pot because that just doesn't look good, and it's not something that I would recommend. I'm opening my tomato paste using a battery operated can opener. Take 2 AA batteries. This is like one of the, oh man, my batteries are running down. That is not the time to do this. Hey, no, come on, keep turning, keep turning. Keep turning. Okay, my batteries are running down in my battery operated can opener.
You got a hand crank can opener, George?
Because I had one, it went down, I never use it again, and I don't have an electric one either. This one has been so handy. All right, give me a second, give me about 1 minute. I need to go locate some batteries. I got to get this open.
All right. Okay. In the meantime, anybody new that joined that didn't get to say hello in the first part, you could say who you are and where you're from. Love to hear from you.
Carrie from Arlington Heights.
Welcome. Anybody else?
Hey, this is Katrisa from Alabama.
Hey there, Katrisa. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Jerry
And-
from Oklahoma.
Hello. Where are your troublesome friends, Jerry? Okay, all right, keep going. Who else? Anybody else?
That happens to me sometimes. It's like, oh man, my battery's dead, especially on my phone. Don't check
Yeah,
my
this
batteries
is
that
the
often.
reality of cooking. Yes.
And this is the thing because I just used this thing the other day to open up some soup and it worked fine.
It never fails, Jerry.
Oh,
George
boy.
never
Timing
fails.
is everything.
That's all right. I got an old radio here. I'm borrowing some batteries out of it. I know
Okay.
just use that radio. Slide this off.
Anybody else want to say hi while we're waiting on the batteries? All right, we got a good crowd. Glad to have everybody here.
Hey, those who are new, how'd you guys find out about this meeting?
Anybody knew that? How did you find out about the cooking? It's iBug's life. They just knew about it, I guess.
This is Jennifer.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I heard on the Empower Tennessee in Tennessee that they have a class on the fourth Friday of the month, and it talks about different topics.
Okay, well, very good, Jennifer. Thanks for sharing.
I've got my lid off, by the way. When I started to take it off, with new batteries, then it started working.
Of course. Okay, very good.
So what I'm doing right now, I'm taking a teaspoon, scooping out the tomato paste and over the meat. And the process I'm going to fill up this little can up 3 times to put water over because this stuff is really thick. It's like if anybody ever messed with shortening. Oh, that's right. You guys don't do. If anybody done any cooking, shortening is one of the things that is really thick and it's hard to get off your hand. This is probably quite not like that thick, not that hard to get off your hand, but it is thick enough. So this is the reason why I'm going to use fill this can up 3 times with water, and that's also to make sure I get all of the paste out of it as well.
This is Vincent.
Hey, Vincent.
I'm sorry, I couldn't find my phone before. I'm from New Jersey. One thing, the other day I was opening a can and I used my fingers to remove the the thickness of the sauce that I was removing, and I cut my finger pretty bad.
Oh no!
So just a reminder, to always use like a spatula or any item, but never use your fingers when you have open a can with a can opener, and it's
yeah, thanks for pointing out, Vincent. You do have to, and he's right, guys. When you're opening up the can, you're taking the lid off the can, you got to be very careful because those edges are real sharp. So that even if you open up a can of pineapples or peaches, those lids are very sharp.
Stop video.
Also, I use an under-the-counter I think it's a Black & Decker. I've had it for many years. It's an electric can opener, and I like it because I can open not only small cans but larger cans, and it has it's not a hook, but it's like a contraption that actually holds the can. I just have to put my hand under it, and it turns around, spins around, and like I said, I've had it for, geez, I don't know, 5 years, maybe more or something, and it's always served me well.
Okay, George, it's 8:01.
Hey, did my Instapot person check in yet? I haven't heard them say their name.
Sorry?
The person who's going to do the Instapot presentation.
Yeah, she's here, but it's 8:01 now.
Okay. Okay, so the Instapot person, and probably in about 5 minutes, get ready. You're going to have the remaining time to talk about Instapot, since that's not going to take as long. Right now, what I'm doing, guys, since I've added the tomato paste, I'm stirring it up using that same teaspoon that I used to scoop it out with. I've already done my 3 cans of the water that I filled that same can with water. So I'm stirring it around. And the last step I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the ragu sauce and I'm going to pour that into that. And then I'm gonna let that sauce simmer. Now that process takes like about 20 minutes. If I can say it's completely done. And then that way I can either I can do two things. I can either leave room, Alexa, stop timer. My 10-minute timer is stopping. I can either leave room in that pot to where I can add the spaghetti so it can be mixed in with the sauce already. So if I'm serving, I'm getting meat sauce along with the spaghetti, or I can keep it separate. I can either let the noodles stay in this pot and let the sauce stay in this pot and do it that way. Anybody want to take a guess which one I do?
This
Do you guys
is
think I
Terry.
put the spaghetti in the sauce or do I leave the spaghetti out?
This
ahead,
is
Terry.
Terry. I bet you put the pasta in the sauce.
I sure do. You're
Have-
absolutely right.
This is Terry with a question or an idea. I don't know. Have you ever, when you after you drain your pasta, have you ever put a little bit of olive oil over it? Just a little bit before you put it. Of course, if you're doing it this way, you wouldn't do that, but
I've never have. And that's a good idea. I'm going to try it. I've never have done it.
That's a Rachel Ray thing.
This is Sonia.
It's idea.
So I've made spaghetti with my mom, and some of the other things that we have added into it are like sausage, like the link sausage, chop that up into like little pieces.
Yes.
And then that adds a lot of flavor. We've added mushrooms into the sauce.
I've had
then,
that.
Yummy.
then another thing we put like a half a cup of like grated Parmesan. And then that just adds, and then sometimes what we do is we get sick of the spaghetti, so we freeze half of it, and then we don't get sick of it. So that's some of the things that we have done.
This is Pete, George.
Yeah, Pete.
Just a little safety health tip. Don't ever use the same plate or pot or utensil on like more than one food component,
Absolutely.
particularly with meat.
Absolutely. No, I probably never mentioned, but no, that's something I never do.
Yeah.
Even when I'm cooking, even when I'm serving, if I'm preparing multiple dishes, I never use the same spoon to scoop out everything. That is a good point. You don't ever want to do that. Like if I'm making my red beans and rice, I use different utensils to scoop out.
Especially meat, chicken, and ground beef and things like that, because that has, that can have salmonella and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
You get cross-contaminated, you use the same spoon, and then you put it in the pasta, and
it's just never good practice. And you probably notice that even when you go to like some buffets, that's why they got like serving spoons and tongues for each different item, because you don't want to mix that stuff.
So you got to be ready to get some stuff dirty.
Yeah, a lot of dishwashing that goes on.
The dishes, yeah.
In my kitchen.
This is Sandia.
It's Sandia.
Another, to that end of keeping things separate, like cutting boards are also like a source of, all these bacteria and stuff. And I've seen on Amazon, my favorite place, you can buy these like cheap folding, kind of not foldable, like they're flexible cutting boards. So you can have different ones. And then whatever you have cut, you can, throw them into the pot or whatever. So you can just, it'll be like not a funnel, but you know what I mean? Like it curves. So you can control the flow of whatever you cut into the pot.
Yeah.
So I hope I explained that correctly, but
Cool.
Yeah,
Alexa,
that's pretty cool.
Set timer for 20 minutes.
This is all from somebody who doesn't cook, but
yeah, you're right.
I've got lots of cool stuff.
You said it correctly. You explained it beautifully.
That means you're a good observer.
Yeah, and we've bought.
She's a good eater, not.
Yeah, well, we also have bought different cutting boards for different sizes cutting boards. And, you know, depending on if you are low vision or whatever, they have different colors, if that'll help you. Like I've bought all black cutting boards and, you know, cups because that helps me a little better. And so for something little, you don't need a giant cutting board. So there's like, they come in like a pack of like 3 or 4, and they're real lightweight and they go in the dishwasher. So that's another thing. But all right, I'm done talking. Well, take it back to you, George.
Okay. If my Instant Pot lady is ready, you can take it over because the rest of this is now, guys, we're going to hear about how to really cook spaghetti meat sauce using the fast way or the Instant Pot way, things like that. I still have not gotten my own Instant Pot, which is incoming, just like I need to get me an air fryer too. We talk about that, so it's coming.
All right. Hello.
So come off mute.
Can
There
everybody hear
you
me
go.
okay?
Yeah, there she is. All right.
Awesome. Good. All right. I am in the process of moving, so I do not actually have my Instant Pot with me, but I've made this several times over. So it's a
Can you
bit.
tell us who you are? I'm sorry.
Oh, my name's Markia. If I didn't show
Hi.
you, hi on Zoom. I'm Markia. I am your local massage therapist, but I'm a big fan of the Instant Pot and the air fryer, but mainly the Instant Pot. So spaghetti in the Instant Pot. It's going to be a bit quicker. It'll especially be a bit quicker if you have a multi-cooker. So one that sautés and, you know, does all sorts of things to make this kind of a one pot thing. First, as far as browning the meat, I would use your saute feature on whichever multi-cooker you have, whether that be an Instapot, a Ninja, whichever pressure cooker you have.
Now, let me say this, just in case, because we do have some people here who don't do any cooking at all. What do you mean by saute? What is saute?
So, oh God, how would I explain it? How would I explain saute? So you're gonna saute feature on your multi-cooker. It would be what you would use to like maybe do like a hamburger if you're gonna do it yourself and not put it on the George Foreman grill. You might use the saute feature.
So the saute feature is another way for like almost like frying or
almost
like you say grounding the meat.
Yeah, except for you don't add oil because ground beef makes its own grease.
Yeah.
This is done. Yeah. Markia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe just a real quick. Maybe you want to talk a real quick refresher. I mean, some people may not even know what an Instapot is. Maybe we do, but just like it's like you said, it's a multi cooker. It's like a dish within a dish. You can just talk about that real quick. Yeah.
Alrighty. So an Instant Pot or an electric pressure cooker, there are several type models, but the one that I'm particularly speaking about is the Instant Pot. It is a multi-cooker / pressure cooker. So you can pressure cook things in there and cut down a lot on the cook time of a lot of your longer soups and beans and dishes of that sort. It's great for things like that. But it also has other features and they come in different sizes. I am not aware of a Wi-Fi Instant Pot as of late. I know they used to have them where it could connect to Wi-Fi. I don't know that that is the case anymore. But yeah, so it's basically a multi-cooker machine. And a lot of them have air fry on it now too. So a lot of these multi-cookers also come with a saute feature, which like George said, is kind of like frying. So what I usually do, I usually season my ground beef, what have you, or so actually there's a couple of ways you can do this. I know some people who just put everything in the Instant Pot and let it pressure cook that way. I don't do it that way. I brown my ground beef first, brown and season it. Once that's done, then I will start layering everything. So let me talk a little bit about sizes. So I have a smaller Instant Pot, what they call a 3-quart, and I believe they have 6 and 8, I believe. So I have a 3-quart Instant Pot, which is small enough for 1 to 2 people because it's just my son and I. If you have more, you might want to have a bigger one. So for my recipe, I'm using a couple things. About a half a pound of ground beef. It's going to be a pound altogether, but about a half a pound of ground beef and half a pound of Italian sausage, usually spicy, just because, that's what I like. I will mix that, let that brown, drain it. Oh, my phone's talking here. Drain it. I use Hunt's. I like Hunt's. I like the 4 cheese tomato sauce. I have done it where I made my own spaghetti sauce. But yeah, that'll be for another Instant Pot show. And then it's really just a matter of layering everything. I usually start off with, the meat on the bottom, and I do add sausage as well, by the way, although I usually cut it up into little tiny rounds. But you don't have to. And any kind of sausage will work, any kind of link sausage, if that's what you choose to do, because it's going to pressure cook. So I start with the meat. I put in everything, the noodles. Let me talk a little bit about the noodles. You don't want to cook the noodles, actually. You want to put them in dry. Because I have a 3-quart Instant Pot, I usually break my noodles in half. I usually use about half a pound of noodles. I break them in half and crisscross them. So I'll take about 8 ounces of noodles. I will hold them, because it's long spaghetti noodles. I'll hold them, break them in half, and lay one half down one way, and then lay the other half down the other way on top of it, and keep doing that so that you kind of have a crisscross pattern over your meat. After that's done, then you're going to pour the sauce on top of everything. And so for my 3-quart, I usually use probably a can and a half of maybe one of those. I'm not sure what the ounce is, but it's Hunt's 4 cheese pasta sauce is the one I use. I would probably say about 28 ounces maybe. So I would use a can of that. I sprinkle a tiny bit. You can either use Splenda or what have you, but it's not enough to taste. It's just to knock out the metal taste of the can. I sprinkle a bit of sugar on top, and I pour enough spaghetti sauce to cover everything. And that's also why you want to make the little crisscross with your noodles, because you want the sauce to be able to go down and get into everything. And if you have sugar? Noodles, yes.
Is that gonna make it sweet?
No.
Okay.
No, like I say, you are just mainly a pinch, like literally a pinch, just to knock the the metal taste, the metallic taste from the sauce out of the sauce. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is not any sort of sugar to taste. So do that. And you can also, this is also optional. I do it. It was my mom's kind of secret ingredient. Once I do that and the sauce has covered the spaghetti entirely, you don't want to drown it, but you do want to cover it. I usually add just a little bit of chicken broth, chicken or beef broth, either one. And then a little bit of chili powder. Not a whole lot, because a little bit goes a long way and it adds a ton of flavor as well. Once that's done, you close up your Instant Pot, you set it to seal, which depending on what type of machine you have, like, you know, I guess that will be for another topic, but you will set your Instant Pot to pressure cook on high for about 8 minutes. So it's going to pressure cook on high for about 8 minutes. Once it's done and it beeps, I would let it sit for, I would let it slowly release pressure for about 2 minutes or so, and then move your release valve to vent, which means it's going to release that pressure, but it's going to release it quickly, because the longer you have the pressure in there, the more your food is cooking. And with something as soft as spaghetti, and, you know, with the sausage and everything, you're cooking the noodles and also the ground beef and everything, it's definitely going to pressure cook it. But the more you leave it, the more those noodles are going to cook. So I would let it stand for about 2 minutes and then hit the pressure release valve, release it. Once you open that Instant Pot, it's going to be hot when you go to stir it around. And you do want to stir it around because you've just layered everything on top. And so everything's kind of not mushed together, but you do want to break it up.
Okay,
And then
let me ask one question, because you said put the noodles in there dry. So I guess all this moisture, that's going to make the noodles kind of soft.
well,
Yes, they don't
that's
have to
why,
boil.
yeah. And that's why when you're going to put your sauce last, you're going to layer your noodles and your sausage and things like that and your meat. And you're going to put your sauce last because your sauce is going to cover everything.
I had a question. Did you ground your beef and your sausage? Did you brown it first?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I heard you say that.
Yeah, I think that's
I
what you
did.
did in a sauteed portion.
Yeah, I did that in my saute portion.
Right.
So once you release it, check it, you know, test a noodle or two, make sure it is tender to your liking. If not, if you want to put it back, I wouldn't do that for very long, maybe like pressure cook, maybe another minute, because pressure cooking is way, way fast, guys. And then give it a good stir. Give it a really good stir, and your Instant Pot or whichever multi-cooker machine you may have has a keep warm feature. And so you're pretty much, it's ready to serve. You plate and eat. It's a very versatile recipe. You can add things, you can take away things. So yeah, it's a pretty easy thing to do, especially when you don't have a lot of time. And you can even make the meat from frozen. I've not done it, but I've definitely seen people who have.
Did you say how long, or how, you know, like any timestamp on how long you do the sauteing?
Sauteing, I would do about 5 minutes, but I usually go by feel, like you were saying earlier.
Mhm.
I usually go by feel, by what it feels like, you know, with the spatula and what have you. The same as you would on a stove.
This is Sonia.
Go ahead, Sandy.
I know we're talking about possibilities. So would this be the same technique you could do to make lasagna also? Like the same layering idea?
You could, if you had a big enough Instant Pot. Sure.
Okay, because I've heard people do it, but I didn't think about how you do the layers. So okay, yeah.
Yeah, and well, lasagna, those are, you know, much bigger, flatter noodles. But yeah, I guess you really could if you you know, if you had a big enough Instant Pot.
Yeah.
Instant Pot lasagna.
Yeah, I've
This
heard of
is-
it. Okay.
This is Terry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Terry.
I use, I haven't used it for a while now, but I use an Instapot. And the key thing with any kind of noodles, you want to make sure you have enough liquid in there, so that they can cook properly. But you don't want so much liquid that you have to drain the liquid off when you're all done. And of course, with sauce, you probably wouldn't. So I know there are recipes that recommend, you know, how much liquid to have for whatever types of noodles you're going to do. And there's probably on AMAZON, there are recipes for making things like spaghetti and lasagna in an Instapot. So it is definitely a doable thing. And I love it because it's a one pot recipe. Basically, it's one and done.
That and the air fryer. Awesome, awesome tools.
Yes.
I'm hungry.
Now, when you've made this sauce, now how long does that usually take before you release their, would you say that pressure valve? What that valve is called?
The pressure valve on the Instapot. Well, usually, like I said, for noodles, sauce, and everything, from mine, I have a smaller Instant Pot, so it's about 8 minutes or so, and then 2 minutes just to let the pressure sit there, and release slowly, and then I'll hit the pressure release valve. And
This
let
is Sonia.
it release all the way, and then open it. And by the way, if you do say you end up getting too much liquid or what have you, not so much that you overflow. That's another thing. You don't want to overflow your Instapot. So like I said, mine, you want it about 2/3 full. Mine has a line that I can kind of feel where that 2/3 mark is, and I try not to let anything go past that 2/3 mark. Otherwise, you will have liquid, you know, spewing out of the pressure valve, and that's not something you want either.
Yeah.
This is Sonia.
Go ahead, Sandy.
I was going to mention, you know, the idea of a pressure cooker is kind of terrifying for some people. And this, the Instapot actually, well, it's terrifying for me because I used to use a regular pressure cooker and it exploded. I never recovered from that. But yeah, so the Instapot has like, I mean, we did a demo of it a long time ago, and it has like 10 different safety mechanisms on there.
Yeah.
So you cannot accidentally open it while it's pressurizing. Yeah.
Or while it is at pressure, or while it is released pressure. You cannot open it.
Right.
However, as you are releasing pressure, some things to look for would be if you hear it kind of making a water type noise and you can kind of feel steam, you probably filled it up too much. But say none of that happened, but you still notice that you have a lot of liquid in your spaghetti. You can then use the saute feature, stir it around a bit, and it'll remove some of that liquid. without you having to get a colander or a strainer or what have you.
It'll steam it off, something like that.
Yeah, it'll kind of steam it off.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
this is Sandy. I would just say the saute feature is basically just like cooking something on a skillet.
On
I
a
mean,
stove,
really
yeah.
oversimplified, but real simple.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is, just cooking something over a stove.
Yeah.
But that's basically it as far as Instant Pot spaghetti.
It's taking like 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Pretty much from start to finish, yeah.
And my stuff is taking about an hour.
Yeah. 8:28 now.
I love making beans in the Instant Pot because what usually takes hours will take an hour at the most.
Just to give you guys an update, the timer just went off on my sauce, so it's pretty much almost done. I just turned the water off on my noodles, so they good and boiled. I already kind of washed them off to get some of the starch out. So all things left for me to do is add my noodles to the sauce
And then eat.
and then eat, of course.
Then eat.
That's important.
And hey,
So-
where's my plate?
I even got some garlic toast that I need to bake.
Oh yeah, huh?
I don't know how to make garlic toast. I bought the frozen one where I just stick it in the oven for like 10 minutes.
Oh, it's real easy. Just take some garlic and softened butter.
Yeah. Or get Texas toast. It's already made.
That too.
Yeah.
Texas toast.
This is
Yeah.
Terry with a
Hey, Terry.
question for George.
Go ahead.
When you were cooking the sauce, did you stir it at all to make sure that it doesn't burn on the sides or the bottom of the
I did. That's what I was in here doing just now because it was fighting with me. It was like getting mad at me. It was almost burnt my wrist, but I let it know who was boss. So yeah, I do my stirring around. Stirring just to make sure everything is all there. And yeah, like you say too, that it's not sticking to the bottom of the pot and all of that. So it doesn't get scorched.
Getting mad
Right.
because you're covering the Instant Pot. It's getting jealous.
That could be it too.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
The Instant Pot has a burn notice feature as well. You will hear it
Yes.
beep at you.
Ah,
And
Mhm.
then you can stop it and release pressure and then add water or whatever liquid as you need to.
cool.
This is Sandy for a question for George.
Go ahead.
What kind of, maybe you said this, and I'm sorry if I missed it. What kind of spatula do you my mom likes wooden, but do you use, what kind of spatulas do you use?
I use I don't know if this is steel or metal. It's real sturdy. It's a real tough one. It's one that I don't want to say inherited, but I kind of took over from my mom. It was like part of her set. It's real solid. It can be a weapon. You can knock somebody out with this thing. I don't have any wooden ones. I think I may have used a wooden one, but one time I think when I was moving into one of my first apartments I got here, and it was a 99-cent store. I half a block away, so I was kind of grabbing some things away, and I had a wooden one that time, but it was real. I mean, you get what you paid for.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, some people don't tend to like a lot of metal or steel stuff because they say it may scrape their pots, but I don't know. I think depending on how you use it, how much pressure, how much strength to put on it if you're stirring or scraping, that you're not going to scrape your pots.
This is Terry.
Hey, Terry.
I use rubber spatulas because they don't scratch your pot. And you can still do a good job of scraping the pots, cleaning, getting everything out
Okay.
of the pot. And the other thing I sometimes will do, if I think there's still some left in there, maybe I'll use a teaspoon and try to scrape it out that way too. After I've scraped as much as I possibly can out with the spatula. It depends on what I'm using the spatula for and how I use it, but I always use rubber spatulas, so that it's got the blade of it is a coated blade. It's coated with rubber, and on the ends of it, the rubber is real flexible on the end of the spatula. But and they come in all different sizes. And if I want to, I also have these little cheap plastic bladed spatulas as well that don't scratch your pot as much as a metal one might.
Now, would the rubber ones be too flexy, too thin? Like, would it does it have some firmness to it?
Yes, it does, but it really depends on what I'm scraping with. That's why sometimes I will resort to I don't know if I say plastic, it might be a nylon. It's a hard nylon. They call it nylon. To me, it feels like a hard plastic, but I sometimes will resort to those because they don't have as much flexibility as the end of a spatula might. But a spatula, depending upon how you do it, you can either have a lot of flexibility or not as much if you use the side of the spatula where it's attached to the harder plastic underneath.
This is Pete. I just wanted to point out, George, I would be careful using like a metal spatula if you have a non-stick coating in your pan, like a Teflon fry pan or skillet or something like that, because you don't want to, get that out so you're eating it. The little chips. If Teflon pans get too old, sometimes the Teflon will begin to shred. That's a non-stick coating that makes it so your food doesn't stick.
Put a new flavor to your food. I got you.
Yeah, you don't want it in food. You don't want to eat it. Yeah, accident.
This is Vincent.
Go ahead, Vincent.
Two things on the spatulas. Yes, it's good to use the rubber one. It's not actually a rubber. It's like a composite type of material, but you have to make sure the ones that you buy, don't buy the cheap ones. Buy the ones that are certified for 400 degrees or something. Go beyond whatever it is that you will be cooking. You don't want something that could actually be melting, especially if you put it in something that is hot when you're cooking, or to remove items from there. That's just not good. So it's a good investment, a good high grade spatula to do that. And like Pete was saying, never use a metal one on Teflon, and also never use any harsh. Some of the sponges that one uses to wash dishes with sometimes have a one side that is soft and another one that is harsh to scrub. Never use the harsh one, only use the softer one, because that would also scrape off the Teflon covering, and that's poison.
Okay. Good point, guys.
This is
Jerry from
Terry
Oklahoma with a question.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, did I talk over someone?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Go ahead.
George, this is Jerry, and I'm from Oklahoma. I've been on a lot of the iBug activities, but this is the first time that I've got to come in on the cooking, and it's been really, really good. Do you have any, or are we allowed to either email you directly or through Sonia, any recommendations or advice about any Braille books about, some simple, easy cooking recipe cookbooks? Like, there used to be one that, cooking without looking. And I thought there was one like a 5 recipe crock pot. So do you have any recommendations on that?
You can feel free to email me. Oh, go ahead.
Nothing. I was just asking Sandy if she wanted to handle that one. Never mind. I'm muted.
My email's no secret. You can feel free to email me. I don't have any cookbooks off the top of my head that I can recommend to you. There's so many of them out there. A lot of stuff I do is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe not as structured. It is something that I've done from doing it for so many times that I'm able to articulate exactly what I do, but I haven't written it down like step by step. That looks like like Vincent earlier had asked me a question about how much seasoning I was using in my meat, what measurement would I use? I told him it would be
Right.
the equivalent of like a tablespoon. So you give me an idea. I probably need to start writing these stuff down so it can be duplicated if anybody needs to, which, I
Right.
don't copyright anything, so that's fine. But yeah, you can email me. It's my first and last name, GeorgeBatiste at SBC, the word global, GLOBAL.net.
Okay,
And
thank you, sir.
This is Sonia.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
I'd also recommend, I know that National Braille Press has some cookbooks as well. And the internet, if you're comfortable just searching on the internet, it's, if it's like, if you want Instapot spaghetti or whatever, I mean, it's just amazing how many choices you can find on the internet. You can also look on YouTube. So there's lots of different options, and that'll, if you do like a search in Google, it'll, you'll hear the different results, and then you can pick one, and then it has the category. It'll say ingredients, and then shopping list, and then what are the instructions and all that. So it's I think the internet, as far, I mean, I know I love Braille too, but if you don't have Braille, there are definitely, like I said, the National Braille Press has good stuff. And I remember I used to have Cooking Without Looking too. I guess they're not there anymore.
Well, if you can find them, they're still around.
Okay.
Well,
All
this is
right.
Jerry. For some reason, every time I try to look up something on the internet, I feel like Alice in Wonderland. I just keep tumbling down these tunnels that won't give me anything, and then it gets into an area that not accessible, and then
A lot
I
of
go back out
advertisements too.
again, and okay, there's just got to be somebody somewhere that just has a couple of different, just simple little easy step type things.
This is Terry.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead,
think Marcia, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So there's also Bard, the Braille and
Yes.
audio reading download thing.
Yeah, Bard
And
is great.
they are giving out readers. I'm not sure which state, but that might be another avenue. I know they have a lot of different types of Braille books there, especially cookbooks. So you might want to look there as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea too, Sonia. Thank you.
And if you have one, and I know I heard you, Jerry, and I heard you, somebody else, but if you have one of these smart speakers, like the Google thingy and the 8-lady thingy, you can even ask her a recipe for such and such, and they actually will list the steps, and you can pause it to, okay, next step. You can do it one by one. It'd be almost like a teacher in your box telling you what's next.
Oh, okay. I agree. Thank you.
I think Terry Ann had a comment.
Yes, literally today, National Braille Press is advertising, because I get their regular emails, and they're literally advertising some cookbooks that they have. Just came out today. So
perfect timing.
Yes.
Hello, this is Katrisa from Alabama. I go to YouTube. Sometimes I go to YouTube if I want to learn how to cook something, or if you're having problems on the internet. What I do is I have they have different reader apps where you could download stuff off of the internet, and it'll compile it on an app. I got Leger Voice Reader, and then there are other types of apps I'm not real sure of, but you can download stuff, articles off the internet, and use your Leger Voice Dream Reader, and it'll translate the stuff off the internet. Sometimes it works and sometimes it does.
Right.
So if you want a recipe, that'll be fine.
This is, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. So this is Jerry, shameless plug here for your question about surfing the internet and so forth. If you're using your iPhone, we definitely could talk about that on our Monday night call. That's exactly the
Yes.
kind of stuff that we do. And maybe people will have some techniques or suggestions of how to navigate the internet with your iPhone. So that's another, and that would be on this same Zoom call, the same Zoom conference line on Monday at 7.
7 Central to 9.
Yes, sir.
This is Shri.
Oh, there's Sri. Sri, you
So-
were kind of talked about indirectly earlier, but it's okay.
So, George, I just want to thank you for reinforcing for me not to go in the kitchen. So I'm going to just keep ordering food and hopefully I don't starve to death.
Oh,
Now, Shri-
come on, Shri. You can do
Now-
it.
I did a step-by-step, even you could do it.
Yeah.
The fact that you guys mentioned about spatula and different kinds, it's almost like I've just went to a different country.
Sri said,
Come
what's
on,
the
I
spatula?
know you can do the Instapot
So Shri, this is Sandhya. I mean, not that I'm a great cook or anything, but you got to pick something that you really, really like and then pick like just slowly. I mean, don't start making, casseroles or something, but, something really simple, just so you could survive if you had to.
It's called Panera.
Oh yeah, Panera. I told my mom, there's certain things that I want to know how that you make because, I love what she cooks. And so I've really tried to make it a point to learn from her. But she's just like George, like, oh, just a little bit, a little pinch of this. And, it's like, that's totally unhelpful because she's been cooking for 60 years, so it's like, but it comes with experience. So.
But I do appreciate this, George.
Yeah.
I think this is great. I mean, when I heard about it, I was, pasta is something that, we eat a lot. So appreciate it.
And the more you do it, the better you get.
So George,
I shared the story every once in a while that the first time I got up for the meal plan in college, because I wanted to teach myself how to cook, and I asked enough questions, first thing I did was fried some chicken. I fried 3 pieces of chicken. One of them came out perfect. And it's all in the same skillet. One came out perfect. One came out like it wasn't done enough. And one came out kind of burnt. And one of them, when I was using like this plastic fork to flip it over, it splashed the grease and it burned me. And I was like, I'm not doing this no more ever. But then I was like, no, I would not be defeated 3 weeks later. And that's when I tried it again. Now it's no problem.
this is Sandhya.
But
Also in the pasta category is macaroni, and it's comes in a box that has the sauce already there. I mean, some people would sneer at it, but I have no problem with it. And it's like boil. It's just the same technique like we talked about with George. You already just boil the pasta and add your cheese sauce, and you have the ultimate comfort food right there. So you could start with that.
This is Shri. So is a bowl of cereal with the milk. It fills my stomach.
we've had the oatmeal discussion already.
Yeah. I beat you to it, Shri.
Hey, this is Katrisa. This is Katrisa. You're talking about the fried chicken. You have certain parts of the meat that's more thicker than the others. Like the breast and the thigh is thicker, than the leg.
I just know they just came out all different. I'm like,
Yeah, you have to gauge your temperature.
hey, I was a sophomore, so who knows? I didn't know what I was doing. I was just taking a chance.
I'm learning how to grill. I
think-
I had a little help, but I grilled me some ribs. I did my ribs, and I kind of beat it a little bit with a knife. I took the membrane off the part of it and then washed it, and then I kept going on YouTube and looking at ways to season the ribs and stuff. And
Whoa! I think that's going to be another topic, Katrisa. And I think Vincent, that would be a great topic. How to make ribs
and chili.
Yeah. Okay, Vincent. I think was that Vincent or Pete?
This is Vincent. Just with when you're cooking pasta separately, when you put it in the water and all that, the amount of time that you have to let it cook varies depending on the pasta that you buy. There are some that you need to cook for a little bit longer. Some of them 4 minutes, some of them 6 minutes, some of them 10 minutes, some of them 14, 15 minutes. What I do normally, since I don't know really what kind of pasta I'm getting most of the times, is I test. I just feel it when after 5 minutes I set the timer, and I check it at like 5 minutes or 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and if it's still hard, then I let it cook, depending on whether I want it al dente or softer. But usually it's not a specific set time, either 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It varies depending on. I mean, it varies every time I cook.
Oh, this is Sonia. Can somebody, I mean, I don't know all the names. I know they're different shapes. There's some like the corkscrew, and then there's, you know, the bow tie. There's so many different shapes. I know they all have names, but I guess depends on the thickness of the pasta as to how long it should cook, that, I guess, right?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
It will use, this is Pete, it will probably give you some idea on the box too. It'll give you some cooking instructions.
And this is something I know that sometimes they have, like, I know people make their own. We're not quite at that level, obviously, but I think some even come with like spinach. You know, you can buy stuff with like they're green or they're orange. They have spinach or carrot or stuff already in it, so it's pretty cool.
This is Vincent.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some of them are the what they call the fresh pasta, and usually those are the ones that have egg in it, and those are the ones that are cooked faster. And many of them come, like we were saying, flavored spinach or whatever. But it really depends. Sometimes just because you buy a product today doesn't mean that the product is, you know, fairly new. I've had instances where it was supposed to cook. It was the same thing that I had cooked before, and it was supposed to cook like for 10 minutes, and I had to cook it for like 15 minutes because it was still hard. So it really, you know, testing it, you know, checking it, just feeling it, using a fork or something, take something out to just to feel it and see what it tastes, or even taste it just a little bit.
Well, this is Sonia. What are those? There's some pastas that I don't know the name, but they're stuffed. I mean, they have like
Shells.
cheese, huh?
Shells.
No,
ravioli.
Yeah, ravioli. Yeah, it's ravioli, but
ravioli.
they're different shapes, right? And you just boil it, and those are really good too.
This is Shri.
Okay, go Shri.
Can this be microwaved?
I think you can make the.
Would it be Michael?
No,
No.
not the pasta.
Has
That
to
was a
boil.
dis-
It's to
that was a
boil on
no
the
with
stove.
disgust.
Unless it's frozen pasta.
You can heat it up after you cooked it.
Don't microwave your cereal either, Sri.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else who hasn't had a turn wants to ask a question of George or Markia or?
Hi, this is Carlo. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
How long does it take when you cook pasta? When you boil them on the water?
Okay, George. How long does it take to cook the pasta?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I thought I was muted. From when I started and when I finished, because it's all done now, it's like about an hour.
I think he's specifically asking the pasta.
Oh, the pasta. That took like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'll say 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just the pasta, not the
Just
meat
the pasta,
sauce.
without the meat. Just the boiling the waters, dropping the noodles in there, breaking them up. Yeah, like 20 minutes.
This is Shri.
Go ahead, Shri. Shri, you can do that too.
What happens if you overcook the pasta? What happens?
You get glue.
Well,
you die.
Yeah, it'd be rubbery.
Yeah.
Well, so George, this is Sonia. If you didn't want to go through all of the stuff with the meat sauce, are there some shortcut? Hold on. Are there some shortcut alternatives, like already made meat sauces or something?
Can you wait for a second?
I don't know. That's a good question. I've always made it.
This is Markia.
Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead, Pete. Then Markia.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think all those ragouts and that other brand, they have completely ready-made meat sauce as well with all the meats, and it's a standalone kind of a sauce. But go ahead, Markia.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of what he said. Hunt's, Ragu, other
Go.
brands, they all have complete sauces with meat or without. But yeah.
It
This is
doesn't
Sri.
surprise me these days. They got everything in a box and in a jar that you can buy today. You know,
That's
cooking
for
has gotten a little lazy, not as creative. Well, I wouldn't say lazy. That's not the word. We like to use the term lifestyle cooking. Okay. Someone was asking for the floor. I think I heard
So,
the name. When I
George,
was
this is Sri.
Go ahead, Sri.
So when you're cooking the pasta, so when you're checking it, what are you looking for? I mean, is it a smell, or is it you're actually taking a piece and then nibbling on it to see if it's cooked?
I've heard somebody say one time, take one string out and throw it up against the wall, that if it sticks,
Yeah.
you can tell if it's done or not. I've never tried it. But
This is Terry.
Mel, what I do, and I'll yield it to you, Terry, but what I do is, after so much time has passed by, I get like either a big spoon or a long fork and stir it up, and using the texture, if I don't find anything sticking to the bottom of the pot and it's all flowing smoothly, and I don't find some noodles stuck together, then I test it away, it's done. So it's like the amount of time that it has been boiling, as well as the texture that I'm using as a spoon or fork as an extension of my hand to feel how it is flowing.
So this is
Go ahead,
Markia.
Terry.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Terry,
go ahead.
I do. I take a couple of strands of pasta or whatever noodle. I'll put a noodle on a spoon, and I literally blow on it first because it's going to be really hot. But I actually taste it, and because that tells me a lot about the texture, and if it's cooked enough for me. Because you don't want to overcook your pasta, and the time varies according to the type of pasta it is. And some types of pasta, when they're done, they will rise to the top of the pot, so they don't stay on the bottom of the pot. But with spaghetti, I definitely like to taste it, and not so much for the taste, but just to see if it's done enough for my liking. Because some people like their pasta more done than others, but I like mine al dente. And so you don't want it crispy. No, you don't want that. But you don't want it so soft that it gets mushy.
Okay, go ahead, Marcia.
This is Katrisa.
And go ahead.
There are different types of pastas. You have penne, rigatoni, macaroni, and you have angel hair spaghetti, regular spaghetti. You have the Alfredo. Is it fettuccine? No, it's Alfredo spaghetti.
Rigatoni.
Rigatoni is kind of like a barrel. It's like a rigid barrel with a hole in it. And penne is kind of like a barrel, but it's smaller than a rigatoni. You have the shell pasta, ravioli, and lasagna, and oh yeah, and then you have the twisted pasta. I've well, how I'm setting up pasta. I've cooked Indian style macaroni.
Did you say Indian style?
Yeah, you can Google it on. You can look on YouTube because we're limited in time, but it's so good.
What makes it Indian style?
The cardamom sauce. I put cardamom sauce. I think curry and what's that? Turmeric and some chili. And you saute your ginger and your garlic, and you make your gravy with the flour, and butter and oil and salt and pepper. And you put your tomatoes in there and make your I put a little bit of Rotel. Then you have your white cheese, or you could have any cheese you want. And I just put it over in the noodles and mix it all together, and it's so good.
I didn't know Indians big on pasta.
Put onion in there too. Yeah.
Getting hungrier.
Okay.
Anybody want a plate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Email it to me, George.
So, George, you said this thing took an hour. What was the hour total? Because you said 20 minutes for the pasta. What was the other?
It didn't take an
40
hour to
minutes?
cook. It's just all my preparation because I did the full prep. When I started the event, it all took an hour.
I see.
With brown and the beef.
Yeah, the browning the meat, the seasoning the meat. What else did I do? Something.
And George, do you love cooking? Is that it's like a hobby for you, or is it just a necessity?
I like it's like I like creating, and I think I like doing it because when I was little, my family didn't allow me to be in the kitchen too much cooking stuff, even though I wanted to. So when I got it on my own, I said, "Okay, what y'all gonna do now? Can't stop me now."
Yeah.
But I was one of those as a 12, 13, 14. I wanted to know how to do all this stuff, but
they're all grown up.
Yeah, they're like, "You can't do this. We'll just fix it for you." Man, okay. If I'm hungry at 3 a.m, you guys sleep. No, I don't want to wait.
Look, my mother hurt her. It's Katrisa. My mom hurt her leg. I gotta cook. And I took care of my grandmother while I was losing my vision. So that goes to show you, you got to do things for yourself, and thank God you have the mind to do it.
Well, I definitely applaud all of you guys for cooking because that is definitely something that I have like no skill set.
We're gonna get an apron on you yet, Tree.
I think learning voiceover is much simpler than learning how to cook to me. But I appreciate all of you guys who are cooking. That just means I just need to stop at each of your house so I can get cooked.
That's right.
Come to each of our houses and have a cooking lesson from those of us who can't cook.
Yeah, it'll go through one year and out of the other.
Well, George, thank you so much. I mean, you really encourage us, and I don't really like the word inspire, but you do inspire me to. I'll just have to share a quick story. After the extravaganza last year when we did the whole egg thing, I learned how to make an egg, a scrambled egg, and we've been adding stuff to it. So now this is like an omelet from a hotel, man. I mean, but I will admit, I was doing it at the beginning, then I broke my hand. So now we've got cheese, we've got tomato, we've got green peppers, and sometimes some ham, and it is amazing. So that's all because of George.
Sandhya?
Put some sausage in
is
there.
Is this Motel 66 omelet, or are we talking Marriott omelet?
It's a Marriott omelet. If my mom makes it, it's a Marriott omelet.
Yeah, I'll be right over.
It is so,
Yeah,
I mean,
you,
it's all because of George. I mean, I was doing it at the beginning. I really was.
Now, that's something I don't know how to do it. One day I'm going to try it, is how to make an omelet, because I love omelets. That's why I like staying at the Sweets, because I can go order me an omelet fresh. But I've never cooked.
I know.
I tried cooking my own omelet once when I was going through training, and it kind of fell apart. So I haven't tried it again.
Wow, it's wonderful.
Lay some cheese over the egg.
Come over, George.
Yeah.
Well, this is free.
Yeah.
I fluff my omelet, and I put 2 eggs in a bowl and stir it, fluff it before I put over the heat, and then put over the heat like that. And I like to cook with green peppers, onions. Sometimes I rotate.
I think Shree's got a comment, and then we're going to probably wrap it up. Go, Shree.
Okay. I just want to say what you just said about George. I got the pleasure to meet George in person, and I definitely find him a very inspirational person. I was very surprised about his multi-talent, and I do really appreciate the things that you're doing.
You guys are too kind. Thank you.
Well, you're
Good job,
awesome,
George.
George.
You too, Markia. Thank you, Markia.
Thank you, guys. And we will do this again next month, and we'll have the topic to be announced. So thank you, guys, and have a great month. And hopefully you'll come for the movie tomorrow is Respect, and then the Apple Workshop is on Saturday. So with that,
Okay. Let me go wash my dishes now.
The movie is Respect about Aretha Franklin. It's a biopic
my
of Aretha
goodness.
Franklin.
Oh yeah, with
Oh,
Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Got
it's a great
reviews.
movie. It's a long movie. Take your nap early because you're gonna need it. It's 2.5 hours. All right.
So
With
not
that,
as
we're gonna
long as
say
last
goodnight,
week.
y'all.
Good
Good
night.
night, y'all. Have a good
Bye.
week. Bye.
Yes, have a good week. By the way, Sandia, if you put cream of mushroom soup or cream of chicken soup or something like that in with your mac and cheese out of the box, that's really good too. How do I get out of